Hey everyone, it's Dave from Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Today we are going to be making strip steaks, but this is not about the strip steaks. Well, it's kind of about the strip steaks, but it's about the toppings. Ooh, it's about the sides. It's about the things that you can add to steak to make them that much better. Stick around. All right, so first things first. If you're gonna bother, cooking some steak, go and get yourself some decent meat. Don't buy the grocery store, bottom of the line, whatever grade is below choice stuff. Get yourself some good steak. These are prime strip steaks. They come from a place called Duma Meats in Mogadore, Ohio. It's a really good butcher shop. They raise their own beef and it's fantastic there. And what I'm gonna be doing to these, I'm gonna be cooking them on the Weber kettle. Going to be grilling them over charcoal. And then for the toppings, I've got a couple different types of butters that I'm going to be putting on to enhance some flavors. And then there's also a horseradish dip for the side that I'm going to be making. One thing that you really have to do before you start cooking these steaks is you salt the steaks overnight. I know that sounds weird, but I always, 8, 9 o'clock at night, the night before I'm going to be grilling, I will salt my steaks. I will sprinkle maybe a half teaspoon per side, depending on the size of the steak. I just sprinkle some on there. The reason you want to do it ahead of time is because then the salt has time to absorb and keep all that juiciness inside the steak. That's what you really want. So if you can, night before you grill, salt your steaks. If you have to do it the morning of, that's fine too. If you have to do it right before you grill, that's fine too. You're not going to get the same effect, but night before is the way to go. The first one is sort of like a gorgonzola blue cheese butter. I actually use blue cheese in this one. And it's super simple. It's just equal parts salted butter and blue cheese. I've got, a quarter of a pound of butter, which is what a stick of butter is, and I've got a quarter of a pound of blue cheese. Let the butter get nice and soft, put them in a bowl, mix them up together until it's well incorporated and you don't see any really large splotches of butter. Then here's the trick. Take a piece of parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, wax paper will work. Put a piece of saran wrap on top of that and then kind of dump the butter on there in a log. You're making a Snickers bar type shape there and roll it up into a tube. Kind of seal the ends like it's a piece of candy. Chuck it in the fridge. Do it overnight because if you do it the day before, the flavors will have plenty of time to meld. You'll be perfect. What this does, it gives you this nice tube of butter that you can slice into medallions again and kind of lay out on the steak. Again, you'll be flexing your grilling muscles and everyone will be like, ooh. The second one I'm going to put in there is a garlic butter. Now this one is for people, a lot of people don't like blue cheese, and I understand, it's kind of a funky taste. This one is just butter, some herbs, and some garlic. Same procedure. This time we use unsalted butter. Because there's already salt in the recipe, so you really don't want the salted butter and the salt to be way too salty. Here's the ingredients for that one. Mix it all up in a bowl and then the same procedure. You put it on the saran wrap on top of some parchment paper, roll it up, stash it in the fridge overnight. And so the last thing that I like to do to kind of round out my steak cooking session here is I love horseradish. I love horseradish. Not like Arby's horsey sauce or something that's not really that strong. I like a real horseradish, kind of stuff that puts hair on your chest. I am going to make a horseradish dip that goes on the side that you can dip your steak in. You can even dump it on top if you want. Here's the recipe for that. And again, this one, really important that you make this one the night before. You need time for those flavors to meld, for that horseradish and all the sour cream and mayonnaise to kind of come together and make a wonderful. So I use this on everything though. I put this on hamburgers. I dip vegetables in it. It's so good. If you love horseradish, do it. Make sure you get yourself some real, good horseradish. Not horseradish with anything added to it, just ground up horseradish. If you want to buy like fresh horseradish and grate it yourself, then A+ to you. That's above and beyond what the recipe calls for. That'll clear your sinuses out for a month. I got my charcoal inside my chimney. I'm just using Kingsford Professional for this. It doesn't really matter. Whatever charcoal you like to use it. Gonna start it up in the chimney, get it completely ashed over like we usually do, and then I'm gonna dump it on one side of my Weber kettle. I don't have anything like a slow and sear, and I don't have one of those, I don't have any fire bricks to kind of separate it. I just kind of dump it to a side. Slow and sears are pretty sweet. Check out Adrenaline Barbecue if you're interested in buying one of those. So I have all my charcoal piled to one side. I got this really hot side, and then I've got the cool side over here. Once the grill grates are heated up, I'm going to scrape them down. I brush them down with my grill brush, and then I take a little bit of oil. In this case, I'm using olive oil, and a wadded up paper towel, clip it in my tongs, brush down the grill grates just to make sure that you get that nice non-stick coating on there. For these steaks, we're looking for a temperature, that's between 120 and maybe 140 in the center. Any higher than that would be like getting towards medium well and well done steak. And if you like your steak well done, you're missing out on one of life's greater pleasures. So do me a favor, cook it to about 130 and then call it a day. That's a nice medium-ish temperature that everyone's going to enjoy. To get to that temperature, what I'm gonna do is about 3 or 4 minutes aside above the charcoal. If you wanna be, extra fancy and flex your barbecue muscles, put it down, cook it for about 2 minutes, rotate it 45 degrees and cook it for another 2 minutes. Then you get those crisscross grill marks on there, and then everyone's gonna be like, ooh, you're amazing. So after you do the first 3 or 4 minutes on the first side, flip it over, do another 3 or 4 on the other side. When that gets done, the steak is really, really rare at this point. And if you love it really, really rare, I guess you could take it off, but it might even be raw. Move it over to the cool side of the grill, put the lid on, and that's where you're going to keep cooking it until it gets up to temperature. Like I said, I'm a fan of about 130, maybe 135. That's a good ballpark for me. If you like it a little bit more well done, push it to 140. If you like it a little bit more rare, finish it off at like 125 or so. So now when I get to be about 5 degrees, this is where we're getting fancy here. When I get to be about 5 degrees from my desired temperature, like I said, I'm going for 130, 135. When I get to be in the 125 range, I am going to top these steaks. All right, so now that these steaks are done, the most important thing that you need to do with a steak, and I know you've heard it a million times, let it rest. Don't just go digging in there. Here's why. It's really hot right now. The juice is gonna be, kind of trying to get out of that steak. And if you cut it open, it's gonna run all over your plate and you're not going to have that juicy steak you're looking for. So let it sit. I usually go 10-15 minutes, to be honest with you, just to let it all rest, especially if it's a thick steak. If it's a thick steak, let it go for 10 minutes and you will be greatly rewarded at the end. So there you have it. That is how, when I am making steaks to impress, that's how I like to do it. I've got my 2 butters, I've got my horseradish dip on the side. Oh, if a guest asks for ketchup or something, I usually punch them in the throat and tell them to leave. And that's it. That is my perfect steak here at Dave's Ohio Barbecue. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to me on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Press that subscribe button and then hit the little bell next to it. That way, whenever I make new videos, you get a notification. I'll have a lot of videos coming out soon, so make sure you check back. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.